Nikola Tesla had perfected a way to transmit energy wirelessly through the Earth and the atmosphere. The world was on the brink of a revolutionary shift, limitless, free energy for all. But one man saw a threat, not an opportunity. J.P. Morgan, the titan of Wall Street, realized Tesla's vision would dismantle the foundations of his empire. And so, he made sure it never happens. This is the untold story of how the most powerful financier in history crushed the dreams of wireless energy and silenced Tesla's greatest invention. If you want to get the in-depth information in the succession of events, go check out my past two videos on Tesla. But here's a short recap. Tesla had made an agreement with Morgan to build the Wardenclyffe to communicate wirelessly across the Atlantic. Tesla had gotten $150,000. Morgan got 51% of Tesla's patents. The problem started when Tesla decided to break the deal with Morgan and began building a tower double the height, 186 feet. He did this because he realized that his opponents, specifically Marconi, were stealing his inventions. There was no reason to start small with only wireless communication. He had to go all the way. He wanted to transmit wireless energy. But soon after, Tesla found himself in a mountain of debts. He went to Morgan to try to get a few more $1,000s, but Morgan refused. By September of 1902, the tower had reached 180 feet, but Tesla had exhausted all the funds. The dome still needed to be installed. He had to lay off most of his workers. But Tesla started using his own money. He sold some of the land he owned and gathered up all the money he received from the royalties in Europe. He was able to put the cupola on top. All he needed now was 100,000 more, and the project would be complete and operational. So, he decided to write to Morgan once more after nearly a year. But this time, he told him his true objective: to transmit power across the world without the need of any kind of wires.
The only way to fully protect myself was to develop apparatus of such power as to enable me to control effectively the vibrations throughout the globe. By straining every part of my machinery to the utmost, I shall be able to reach a rate of energy delivery of 10 millions of horsepower. This production would be equal to more than twice that of the entire Falls of Niagara. Thus, the waves generated by my transmitter will be the greatest spontaneous manifestation of energy on Earth, and the strongest effect produced at a point diametrically opposite the transmitter.
This statement was in fact counterintuitive. Morgan now clearly felt that Tesla had breached the contract. All he wanted was transatlantic communication, and here Tesla was trying to transmit free energy, something that would clearly have assured Morgan's downfall. Tesla then sent another letter addressing more the wireless communication aspects, but this didn't help much. When it was clear that Morgan didn't want to lend another penny to Tesla, Nikola switched to a new plan. He wanted to get new investors by selling bonds, but again, Morgan blocked his idea. He wanted to retain his 51% ownership of the company and his one-third of the securities. Moreover, he now wanted to be reimbursed for his initial investment of 150,000. Everything was going downhill. Tesla was so close. All he needed was 100,000 more, and the whole world would be transformed for the better. Tesla believed that all wars would end, that starvation would be a thing of the past, and that all those children who were working on farms could finally go to school and get educated. This would create a chain reaction of new inventors, and next thing you know, we would be an interplanetary species and traveling the universe. But all this was stopped by one man. On June 15th, 1903, exactly at midnight, Tesla tested out his transmitter. New Yorkers attended that night's attraction, a demonstration of the technological future of the whole world. A dazzling, sparkling flame of electric plasma 100 miles in diameter connected the spherical dome of the machine with the sky. The electricity was seen from as far as Connecticut, but it was all in vain. Creditors began showing up demanding money. Westinghouse Corporation, the company he had given his AC motor to without any royalties and which had earned millions from him alone, showed up with a court order granting them permission to cart away the heavier equipment. They took away his 200 kilowatt generator, the power source of his whole operation. Without it, the tower was just a pile of wood, nicely stacked up. Tesla started sending messages to Morgan.
Dear Mr. Morgan, I have put all the money I could scrape together in this plant. With $50,000 more, it is completed.
Dear sir, in reply to your note, I regret to say that I should not be willing to advance any further amounts of money as I have already told you. Of course, I wish you every success in your undertaking. Yours very truly, J. Pierpont Morgan.
Dear Mr. Morgan, you wish me success. It is in your hands. How can you wish it? It is just 14 months that the construction work on my plant was stopped. 3 months more with a good force of men, and I would be paying $10,000 a day. Now, I need only a little more to save a great property. Dear Mr. Morgan, are you going to leave me in a hole? I have made 1,000 powerful enemies on your account. There is only one way to go, Mr. Morgan. Give me the money to finish a great work, or else make me a present and let me work out. Dear Mr. Morgan, help me to complete this work, or else remove the obstacles in my path.
The letters were of little use. But Tesla wasn't a quitter. He tried a final, last-ditch effort. He went around trying to find 10 people to give him $10,000 each. The odds were against him. But that's when he struck gold. On October 12th, 1903, he met a man by the name of Thomas Fortune Ryan, an investor and stockbroker who gained control of nearly $1.4 billion by 1905. That's over $50 billion today, or half of the entire public debts of the United States back then. He instantly agreed to pay Tesla $25,000. This was great, but Tesla still needed to confer with Morgan, and so he asked him, "Would you consider underwriting the entire $100,000? Ryan said, "Possibly," and Tesla soon organized a meeting between Thomas and Morgan.
Mr. Ryan is a great admirer and a loyal friend of yours, and for this reason, as well as on account of his ability, I am very anxious to enlist his cooperation. I have told him that $100,000 would be sufficient to reach the first commercial results which will pave the way to other greater successes. Knowing your generous spirit, I have told Mr. Ryan that any terms you may decide upon will be satisfactory to me.
Tesla had high hopes. Finally, things were aligning in his favor. He was sure that he would be transmitting energy in no time, even saying to a friend of his, "If it continues for a few weeks like this, the whole globe will be griddled soon." But as you might know, the deal went nowhere. Mr. Ryan still gave Tesla a few small lumps of money, but never the 100,000 he had hoped for. The first question arises, why did the deal not go through? Well, the first thing to know is that Thomas Ryan was in essence Morgan's puppet. Morgan had many puppets on Wall Street. He couldn't have gotten as big as he had without them. He most likely suggested to Ryan that he not invest his money in Tesla for it was a waste. But if this is true, another question arises, and to quote Mark J. Seffer in his book Wizard: The Life and Times of Nikola Tesla, if Tesla's enterprise was perceived to have become potentially profitable, having Ryan puts in another $100,000 to complete it would have been an easy thing to do. We can therefore conclude that Morgan deliberately scuttled the Tesla venture. Now, why would Morgan deliberately scuttle Tesla's project? The answer is simple. If Tesla had succeeded, Morgan and every other multi-billionaire on Wall Street would have had to declare bankruptcy. One day, Bernard Baruch, another stockbroker, approached Morgan by asking if he was a gambler. Morgan answered that he wasn't, and Bernard continued by saying that Morgan sure was gambling with Tesla. Look, this guy is going crazy. What he is doing is he wants to give free electrical power to everybody, and we can't put meters on that. We are just going to go broke supporting this guy. What he said clearly resonated with Morgan because he knew it was true. If you take a look at Morgan's possessions, it becomes even more apparent. Morgan owned over 30 different railroads. These railroads transported steel and copper and coal from mines that he also owned, to create wires with rubber from rubber yards he owned, and telephone poles for companies he owned. This power was created by companies he owned, and lit bulbs that were produced by him, and motors that were produced by him. To sum it all up, all of Morgan's wealth and the wealth of all the rich at that time, and probably to this day, relied on the control of energy. And that is why Morgan, who had originally funded Tesla's plan, in the end did everything in his power to stop him. In 1906, when Tesla finally realized that his project was doomed, he had a nervous breakdown. And to add insult to injury, his friend Stanford White was murdered. Tesla pulled out of society. He became bitter. But slowly, he climbed back up and started inventing again, still trying to raise funds for his tower. But again, tragedy struck when another friend of his died in the sinking of the Titanic, John Jacob Astor. Astor owned the Waldorf Astoria, and Tesla was living there rent-free for the time. But once Astor died, George C. Bolt, the manager, insisted that Tesla must pay the rent that was due. The sum of money was far too great for Tesla, so he instead decided to hand over Wardenclyffe to him as compensation for the meantime. But on July 4th, 1917, the tower was blown up without Tesla's knowledge to get some money from the scrap pieces of wood. It was so well built that it had to be dynamited multiple times before it crumbled to the floor. And with that, Tesla's greatest invention had been blasted to bits and pieces. Some still don't believe that he would ever have been able to transmit energy wirelessly. But one thing is certain, the men at the top certainly feared that he could. And with that, we have finished this three-part series on Tesla's attempt to transmit power wirelessly across the globe, a project he might not have been the first to have tried to attempt. Oh no. Along this process of research, I have found many eerie similarities in Tesla's contraption and the Great Pyramid of Giza. From the aquifer underneath to the resonance of the chambers, it seems that the pyramids might not be just a tomb for the pharaohs. So, subscribe so you don't miss that episode coming very soon. As always, thanks for watching. Until the next mystery,